world. All right, so here's our new session, our new Clubhouse live on Clubhouse, and then also on video so that we can chat to you later. You can see this in our blog post and meet our team. So there's so much to announce. Heaps of cool things, right?
Heaps of cool things.
I know. As the title suggests, our online school has launched, which is very exciting, and we can see it on our screen right now. Public speaking courses are online. But you might not know this face. So we thought we would do a meet and greet, have a bit of a chat about two nerds who love public speaking and why. So massive nerd. Yeah. So no shame. So we're going to have a chat about that. So firstly, we'll get Tom to introduce himself, his background, his history, who he is, where he came from, and what he's going to do with us.
Thank you, Sanja. So yes, my name is Tom Hendrick. Hello, everyone. So I'm a professional public speaker, and that's really cool to be collaborating with the Talent Academy. I started my own business, Adelaide Speaking Training, this year. And before I decided to become a professional speaker, I was a tax lawyer. I worked for one of South Australia's largest law firms, Finlaysons, and I was someone who liked tax and public speaking. A lot of people thought think I am an alien. And before that, I just had a deep love of public speaking. When I was 15 years old, I did a 1-hour stand-up comedy show in front of my whole school. But before that, before I got confident enough to do that at school, I wasn't a very confident speaker. I think most people start off not knowing what to do or feeling really nervous in front of people. I was really fortunate as a young kid. I had a family friend, his name was Hal. He used to work in radio. He used to come over to our house on Tuesdays and make me read stories and things like that to him. And I'd read these tongue twisters like butter makes it better. That's burnt into my memory.
Butter makes it better. It's like one of those she sells seashells kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And learn to say government instead of government.
Yes.
And it all started from there. And then eventually, you learn a few skills here and there. You get a bit of exposure in increasingly larger crowds of people. And eventually public speaking becomes something I get excited to do instead of nervous to do. And that's kind of my story about where I came from. And I found that in law, you're doing a lot of speaking. You're not only interviewing for jobs, but also negotiating on behalf of clients. You get presentations in front of at the Law Society or the Tax Institute in front of lots of other lawyers and accountants. And I just always had public speaking in my back pocket as something that I enjoyed doing, I was good at, and it got outcomes for other people and myself when I did it. A bit of exposure and credibility for me in the industry. Also got me to think about the law and what I was thinking about, and it made me better by being able to talk about it dynamically in a group of people who needed different ways of hearing it in order to understand it. And so speaking has done a lot for me, and I decided to cut out the middleman. Instead of talking about law, just started talking about talking. And here I am.
Yeah. You mentioned though you got excited about public speaking rather than scared. What do you think holds people back from taking the leap from anxiety to stage confidence?
That's a big question. There's a few different ways of looking at that. So what takes people from anxiety to stage confidence? Well, if you look at professional performers, whether they're sport performers, musicians, they have a plan. And a lot of us, when we speak, we haven't had any formal training before in speaking, so we don't have a plan. If we were playing, say, golf, before you got on the golf course, you hit a whole bucket of balls or hundreds of thousands of balls. A lot of people haven't done hundreds of thousands of speeches before they step out on a stage. They don't have that muscle memory yet. And so one thing that I recommend that people do, and this is something I do in my course, is develop a bit of a pre-shot or a pre-speech routine before they go up on stage. And you can do a lot of stuff under tremendous pressure if you can do some things that come automatically to you.
I'm glad you used the word pressure. Because that's usually what deters us, is that we don't like being under pressure, but diamonds are made under pressure, right? So sometimes the best learning outcomes are out of a pressured environment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Think about a basketballer who's shot so many successful free throws in their life, and all of a sudden they have to do it to win the game. They're gonna want to give themselves a crash course again, start from basics, how to do it, but that's not where they're most able to perform. They're most able to perform when they just see it and hit it. And so for them, in order for them to perform best, they might go bounce, bounce, look up and swing, and that's what lets them perform despite great pressure.
Yeah.
And speakers can do the same thing. So before you go up on stage, make sure you've got a routine. Like you might go out there with a bottle of water and your watch. And before you start, just make those first 30 seconds of nerves happen faster. Put the water down, take the watch off, take a breath, look up, and now you're ready to go.
Routine is key. So if you don't have a routine yet, what can you put into place that will become easily replicable no matter which setting you're in, whether you're getting on stage or on screen, that you have a process? If you have questions about that, we can definitely help you. Now, I want to talk about your top 3 speakers who you aspire to become like, or who you respect, and for various reasons. Now, everyone can think of someone they've seen speak somewhere, and maybe it's a Hollywood person or a politician that you've seen speak and you're like, man, they nail it. They look so natural. Or a comedian. Comedians are good at this too. They look so natural on stage. They're wildly engaging. So who are your top 3? And we're going to unpack these top 3 as well and see why Tom has his favorite 3 speakers. So tell us about that.
Fantastic. Oh, I love nerding out to these questions. Oh, there's so many to choose from. Who do I pick? Okay, the first one, knee-jerk reaction that comes to mind is there's this movie called Up in the Air with George Clooney. And it's a movie, but there's a speech in that movie where he's delivering a keynote speech to a group of professionals in it's an airport, a conference room. And what he does is he has a backpack. He could have had a slide of a backpack, or he actually had a physical backpack on stage. And he's trying to tell people how to live like a minimalist lifestyle. And a lot of people would reject this concept of living, just out of a backpack. You don't need a house, you don't need stuff, you just need, a backpack and just living on the road, and that's like a lovely lifestyle. And because that's a really hard message to get across, the way he gets it across is really amazing to me. He juxtaposes his message with a backpack, and he says, think about all the stuff that you own. Your car, all the little knickknacks in your drawers, your mattress, stuff them in a backpack. It's getting pretty heavy, isn't it? Feel the straps digging into your shoulders. Now the audience is going, like they can feel the backpack and they're feeling uncomfortable. And then he goes, now light it on fire. Take out what's important. And
that's a great concept.
So people who would have initially rejected that argument are now intrigued because they can't go back in time and feel uncomfortable about the backpack. They can't, they've already felt the straps digging in. And so that's a great way to explain a new idea, or an idea that you think is going to get confronted with by your audience, is sort of make them feel it first and then tell them your idea. So they can't go back in time and disagree with you. They're already sort of on the path that you're on, if that makes sense.
So that speaker does it well? That
particular example, George Clooney and Up in the Air, great speech about how to maybe get an audience that might be against you on your side quickly.
Yeah. And a win-win, not just a great speech, but also very suave looking man. So win. But also, who's the next one?
Next knee-jerk reaction, there's so many to pick from. I want to say Julia Gillard, former Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard, fantastic speaker. One speech she's very well known for is her misogyny speech when she was in Parliament. What I like about this speech is that in Parliament, it's like you've got a whole room full of people just rabbling on in the background. They're like, they're yelling over the top of you, and you're the one on the mic, and you can't be rattled by them. You have to go full steam ahead. And it's a great example of, she's pointing the finger at Tony Abbott for not meeting the standard that a politician should set. And he's being, she mentioned things where he was being hypocritical, and she was making really cogent points in an assertive way without compromising on her integrity as a person. The way that she does it, the way she goes like, I will not be lectured by misogyny by this man, and he will, he's full under the standards imposed by this Parliament. And the way that she goes dirt, 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 and takes a little breath, dirt, dirt, dirt. It's got both pausing, got rhythm, it's got aggression that teeters on the line without crossing the line. So it's never an emotive speech, but it has emotion in it. And I think it's such a well-balanced speech, both well written or delivered, and it's done despite great pressure. A lot of commentary and yelling coming from the stand. She just holds her ground. She doesn't lose a beat. And it's just a really impressive speech of what people can do when they're prepared and they've got a plan and they've got a style, and it all comes together really well. I love that.
And it's had a lasting impact. Absolutely. What a powerhouse. Go girl. Next one. This next one's a TEDx speech by this guy called Joe Smith, sort of an older guy. He looks a bit like Ned Flanders. He's got a green jumper on, and he's got a message. And the message is that
we all use way too much paper when we wash our hands. And this speech actually starts off a little bit bumpy. It's not the best. You've got to wait for the good bit. And the reason why you got to wait for the good bit is because he starts a little bit weak. He's rattling off statistics. The numbers he's rattling off, he says like there's 14,695, blah, blah, blah. Too much tons of paper towel in the environment, and we can't fathom that number. It's not visual. But then after about 2 minutes, he gets into his speech and something magical happens. It gets hyper visual. He does a demonstration. He goes, I can tell you how to wash and dry your hands with one square of paper towel. We're like, how? How? And he goes, all you have to do is shake and fold. And that's hyper visual. He goes, left side of the audience, shake, right side, fold the paper towel. Shake and fold. And he does a live demonstration, dunks his hands in water and goes, shake 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Why 12? 12 apostles, 12 months of the year, 12, also the longest word with only one syllable, like longest number, not longest number with only one syllable. Shake, that gets a lot of the excess water off, and then fold, other half of the audience, fold, they're all like, fold, they love it, fold the paper towel. And that causes what's scientifically interstitial separation, it lets more droplets fit in between.
One more time on that word.
Interstitial separation. But he's like, you don't have to know that, that's science, that's nerd stuff. You don't need to know the nerd stuff. You just have to know that you've got to shake and fold and dry. And everyone goes, oh. And then everyone goes to the toilet after that speech and tries it. And then they tell their friends. And what I love about that speech is because it was hyper visual and simple, just shake, fold, he wasn't just talking to the audience, he's talking to the audience's audience. Which is a much bigger audience.
Well, that is kind of the reason TED exists. It's ideas worth spreading, and they have to be delivered in a way that's easily spreadable. That's pretty much why we exist. So you've gotten to know a little bit about Tom, how he thinks, how he breathes, and just absorbs content the way we do as well. We love what we do, and we love to share it with you. So we have an online school, right?
We do, because we're nerds and we like school.
We put lots of stuff on there. Self-paced learning, it's affordable, it's accessible, you can do it anywhere, and we will be launching in other languages very soon so that it's global. This content is live now, and if you want to check it out, go to our school, talentacademy.com.au. You'll see all of the course detail there. We will be releasing more stuff very soon, and the next video is highly likely to be done by Tom. So, thank you so much for joining us. We will do more Clubhouse Lives, and if you want to be interviewed by us, come and join us at our board table. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.